Sabir, you're just managing the ICC and KNCB regional conference in Utrecht. How's it gone so far, and what are the key messages that's been coming out over the past couple of days?
It's been quite a success. A lot of coaches across Europe have come over here, and it's been, for some of them, it's been very inspirational. And also nice to meet each other, share their own experience. For us, coach education is very important because that's the basic what you need at a club for the growth, for the participation of more youth seniors as well. And we basically want to help them out with the coaching staffs, to coach what they need, the experience what they need, and the understanding of coaching, which has changed in the last couple of decades. Yeah, it's good for them.
It's kind of interesting. This conference is not just about coaching; it's about community cricket, how it links into club development, grassroots. It's grassroots and development's always growing. But what are the key messages around how you go about doing that within a European environment?
Basically, what most of the volunteers or parents struggle is teaching kids, bringing them to cricket with the grassroots level. The key message is just to make it fun and also hold the basics good, try to keep it simple and bring cricket as a fun sporting or fun activity to do, rather than focusing on really technical aspects for the grassroots level.
Cal, you've just done a women and girls session at the ICC European Conference. What were the key messages from the session?
I think the key messages from our perspective were that there aren't really any differences with regards to coaching styles that you're looking to use with women and girls. I think the perception sometimes is that you have to coach very differently, but it's just about being very thorough with your preparation, making sure that you really take the player into consideration when you're doing your planning. I think the key differences from our point of view are actually on the playing side. So there are differences in terms of techniques and the emphasis of certain shots. So we would look to encourage them to play cross-batted shots where the strengths are, so sweeps and pulls, hitting down the ground, so over the top as well. And a key thing is being able to rotate the strike, drop and run. From a bowling point of view, it's to encourage sort of variations and to hit top of off stump and fielding. There's a massive way where we can compete equally. So looking to do sliding and diving and making sure that we've got a really good ring field, because that's where games can be won and lost.
In terms of what a woman, what a girl wants from a coach in terms of skill sets and attributes, what would the fundamental aspects?
I think somebody that's very approachable. I think there's a craving for knowledge and information from the coaches, so it's somebody that can share that knowledge with them. But I think it's somebody that's going to be sort of pretty friendly, approachable, but looking to actually sort of develop the player. So I guess not too dissimilar to what sort of a male cricketer would want either.
It's trying to almost managing a professional relationship, almost like the coach being a teacher, a mentor, and also a friend, I guess, isn't he?
So I think it's, as you say, being probably a teacher and a coach first, but very quickly becoming that mentor and that friend that can support that player through their sort of pathway journey.
Richard, you've just done a session around player development. What were your key messages from the session?
I think the key one was that we've got to know the players and then we've got a plan. Because if we don't make a plan, we turn up with our bag that says cricket, put it down, and what does that mean to people? You know, so we've got to enthuse them, we've got to make sure they always want to come back. So in order to do that, we've got to plan it, review it, do it, and unfortunately that process just keeps going. But I was saying it can be very informal the way you plan it. You don't have to have reams of paper, you just got to know what you're going to do.
In terms of the challenges that face European coaches, is there anything unique, or is it very similar to the role that you play in the UK?
I think the principle of planning is the same, but obviously the outcomes you're looking for might be different, might be your expectations might be different. Obviously the age group can be wide because of the volume of players.
In terms of what are the drivers for players to develop, what were they?
Well, the coaches looked at why players want to develop and what makes them want to develop, and there were quite a few reasons for that, but challenge was the key one we looked at. They just want, if they want to get better, they want to be challenged all the time, which is why you've got a plan, because you've got to challenge them.
Tony, what were the main points of your session from yesterday?
I think in the games-based learning, we've got to We're going to let people recognise that it's a great way to acquire skill. I think in the past, perhaps, people have spent a lot of time with really, really fixed type of practices, cricket-wise, sometimes getting the variable stuff, traditional stuff in nets, and they've played sometimes games. What's been really interesting for me is that to let people know that you can still acquire lots of those different skills whilst playing in different games. Makes a big difference. The transference to the game then, through playing games related, is huge, because you are taking tactical things out. You can still look at technical things, physical, as you can imagine. You're charging around, doing bits and pieces anyway during the game. And also there's a bit of a mental challenge as well, to try and work out. We're asking the players to make lots of decisions for themselves, so why not practice and let them make decisions for themselves in our little practice, in the games related practices. I guess one of the big things we had to think about, three things really for the coach, was to what they actually did during the game. If they can let the game flow, it makes a big difference to the player. You know yourself, you're playing, you've got a coach stepping in, stop, stand still. It makes it a different experience for you. So the closer we can let the game flow, the odd question every now and then as you're wandering around. But again, the planning that goes into the particular game that you do at the start makes a huge difference, because if you plan it nicely, then the players can almost answer their own questions by the way that you set up the game. Some challenges that we'll have would be space. Obviously, to play games, sometimes you need a bigger space. Kit, if you don't have lots and lots of kit, then how can you have lots and lots of games going on? So that's a challenge. And the other thing is letting the people who sometimes pay the wages know that to play a game is a good way of acquiring skill, just the same as it would be standing in a net, perhaps with a bowling machine. It's just a different way. But like all the different places along the continuum, if you like, the different practice types that we have, it depends on the age and the stage of the player as to what's appropriate at which time. And I guess that's the skill of the coach, knowing where their players are, what they need, and what they can get from that.
Richard, you've just finished a session called Involvement to Playing, which really focuses on the transition of engaging new people and moving them into more formal aspects of playing. What were the key messages from the session?
I think we looked at actually how you do it. You know, we tried to nail down the nuts and bolts of how you would have a sustainable but very small school program, because you're looking to advertise the game of cricket and then move those players into a club, and how you can do that. So without having to take off 3 months from work all the time, you know, a couple of days a year.
In terms of the key messages on how they go about doing that, were there any key topics that were taking place during the session?
We looked at how we would actually, what we do in the session. We looked at how, importantly, cricket's a product, how we place it in the marketplace, what we do for, how can we make the head teacher really want this game, you know, and we linked it to English, or actually we looked outside that, if they're already good at English, then cross-curricular things, geography, mathematics, it can cover so many aspects, can't it?
In terms of engaging with the clubs, because that's a key transition, getting from school to club environment, what's the role of that club in supporting the coach?
They've got to be part of that process, or if currently an association hasn't got that confidence or that link, then the association can do it, and good practice will always, and success will always breed desire from others. That was what we talked about.
Tony, you've just done a session around competition and how that relates to player learning. What were the key messages from the session?
I think we had a few mainly. The first thing we had to enjoy it, and to show that it was healthy to have competition. We were at pains to say that it wasn't a win at all costs, but people do want to win things, so we've got to try and manage the type of competition that we go in. It can be really good, it can stimulate people, can make people want to try harder in some situations, as long as it matches the age and stage of their cricket development. It can have a detrimental effect if we're not concentrating on the whole group. We've always tried to look at the people who are doing in the activities, but also what are the people who are in the activity but actually not doing very much, and why is that? Again, if we consider the stage of the child or the stage of the player, then competition in some places doesn't work, because if we don't succeed, then is that wrong? And why would I ever come back and do it again if that was the case? But if we can manage to say, sometimes it's just out of grasp, it's just out of reach, And as long as people still want to keep coming back and having a turn, if we can be clever the way that we set up our games, set up our practices as well, it makes a heck of a difference to the attitude that the player comes in with. Why? As long as they've got the context, if they know why that the competition's there and what they'll achieve from it, I think then it's good.